state of appointment setting in the B2B cold calling world?
Yeah. So, actually, if you don't mind, you've been very complimentary about my books, and you're in a very competitive industry.
Sure.
You said the books helped you
Yep.
to get off the ground and to really stand out. So I'm kind of curious as to how the books helped you in your business.
Sure. So the first book we read was Setting Sales Appointments, and that's the oldest of the books. The next one we read was the 7 Steps to Sales Scripts, and that basically helped us fine tune a bit. And then we were off and running. We built out lists that we wanted to target, and we built out cadences, and we use cold calling to this day. I think there's nothing better for forcefully building your business than outbound. Inbound is excellent. The deals close faster. They're easier sales. But inbound takes time, and you've got to build your brand and market. You've got to build your inbound channels for that to actually happen. So, if you're sitting back and you need that needle to start moving, you got to pick up the phone, or you got to start cold emailing, start doing direct mail, getting out into the market. So for us, cold calling has been a game changer. We've had a full-time salesperson cold calling for us now for a long time, and that person consistently sets 2 to, I think his max he set in one day was 13 appointments. So
wow.
Yeah, he's a beast. He likes challenges. So it's been really effective for us. On those 13, I will say not all 13 showed. Maybe 10 showed, and 8 were super qualified, and we closed some deals out of it. But yeah, I'm a fan, man. I'm a fanboy. I always talk about your books. I'm always pushing them on people. I send them as gifts to some clients. Yeah, it's been a life-changing book for us.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned some things that I think are important to focus on. Is interesting to me is, the book that I wrote in '04, which is really much more basic than the more recent stuff, is
right.
The one you keep mentioning is helping you the most. And I think that's important to mention because, it is really the basics. One of the things I say is that if you do the basics right, that's typically enough for you to beat 90% of the competition out there, and I really, really, really do believe that.
Right.
And that first book lays out the basics, in a very dated way, but it does lay out the basics. And then you mentioned the importance of the list, and so critical. I know we're going to talk about that, and so many get that wrong and defeat themselves even before they make the first call, and you mentioned that right off the bat. Having a system, you mentioned the cadence, and you have to have a system and stick to it. And then, I like the way you said, hey, forcefully build your business. So you're going directly at your highest probability, your highest value buyers. And even though your system is very powerful, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're jerks or we're browbeating anybody. It just means that, by forceful, I've always thought of, the analogy of communicating scripts and having kind of a 2x4 in your hand. You speak softly, but you carry a powerful stick because your words have impact.
Right.
And so I thought it's interesting you mentioned forcefully, so we can be very aggressive and forcefully work through a group of highly probable targets, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're off-putting or we're not professional or anything like that, but we're going directly at them, and we're doing everything we can to get their attention and enable them to see that it's worthwhile to meet. So,
right. Yep. I 100% agree. And if you look at the Fortune 500, if you look at all the tech businesses, even ones that rely heavily on inbound, they all have outbound sales teams. And that should tell you something. Like, I always use HubSpot as the example. HubSpot's like the golden child of the inbound marketing world. And they've got an outbound sales team that sets outbound sales appointments for their business. And that shows that when you have growth targets you've got to hit, inbound isn't the only way you should be looking to grow the business. You've got to have some, what's the word? Not momentum. What's the word? You got to get out of your chair and start making calls. You got to put your foot forward, and instead of being reactive, waiting for the leads to come in, you've got to be proactive and really dip your toe in that market and start picking up the phone and dialing.
Yeah, and I also think too that what you just said about online companies that preach going online, but they also
Yep.
have an outbound effort.
Yep.
Is that so important? Because one of the points I wanted to make here is that the techniques are not mutually exclusive. Okay,
Yep.
so and you, in fact, now I, for whatever reason, seem to be good at appointment setting. I set 2,000 appointments among CEOs, C-level, before I started teaching sales teams. But I always say to people, look I'm not saying that appointment setting is better than the other technique. In fact, if you have techniques, marketing techniques, that deliver what you need faster and more effectively, I would encourage you to use them. So
Right.
you should be marketing tool agnostic, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And if appointment setting and going directly at people makes economic sense for you, then use it. And if you do use it, my God, do it right, okay? Don't, try it and have lousy scripts and call the wrong people, and then say this thing doesn't work. Whatever marketing tool you use, B2B appointment setting included, if you're going to use it, do it right.
Right.
Do it right. So be marketing agnostic.
Right.
The other thing is too is I've always thought of appointment setting. This might be curious coming from an appointment setter. Is really not about appointment setting. I've always thought of appointment setting is more about part of a business growth system. And it speaks to the importance, and I think at a lot of people who get into appointment setting, they immediately start thinking about scripts and how many times to call and all the kind of the details of getting the results. But they forget, I think sometimes, or don't pay enough attention to the overall environment in which appointment setting sits. So if a company's working the right strategy, meaning they got the big picture, they know the target market, the services they're offering, they know who's most likely to buy, and calling fits into that overall effective picture, it works. But if you're going to try calling and you don't have your strategy right, you haven't really figured out properly which are the right tools to use or how to use them or allocate your assets, then you can call to doomsday. Okay, you are not going to get there. So you got to have that bigger system in mind and have it right before you can select any tool. And in appointment setting is just one of those tools that you can select.